He is 32 years old and only 68 pounds. He was allegedly kept inside an 8x9 room since childhood. Then, he allegedly set fire to his home to get rescued. Tonight, the dramatic body cam video of a man held hostage for most of his life finally getting set free, and his stepmother is now under arrest, facing serious charges for her alleged treatment and captivity of her stepson. Tonight, we have all the latest from Connecticut. Sudiksha Konanki is a 20-year-old from Virginia who's a junior at the University of Pittsburgh. She was on spring break in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic with a group of 6 female friends from her school. In the early morning hours of March 6th, there was a power outage at her hotel. So Sudiksha and a group of friends and others from the hotel headed towards the beach. Sudiksha is seen on camera arm in arm with a student from another school who was at that hotel, Joshua Ribe. While her friends reportedly returned to the hotel around 5:55 a.m., Sudiksha did not accompany them. She stayed with Josh. The following morning, Josh is on video returning to the hotel without his shirt. Meanwhile, Sudiksha did not return. This prompted an extensive search and investigation, and tonight we're hearing new details about the timeline and new video from before the disappearance. And Ribe's attorney is trying to get him released from the island to return home to the United States. Meanwhile, everyone is still wondering, where is Sudiksha? But first, it was the phone call that started the investigation into the biggest true crime mystery in the country. A 911 call the morning after 4 University of Idaho students were brutally murdered. Tonight, you will hear the call and the voice of the surviving roommate who saw the killer, as our in-depth coverage of the Idaho 4 continues as we get ready for this year's biggest trial. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to have you aboard. And wow, this is a big show, a big night, some new information, and we're really learning something. I think getting an understanding of what was happening in that house. And of course, I'm talking about the 4 students from Idaho, the victims in the case, Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee. It was brutal. The scene was brutal. But there were also survivors in that house, survivors who made it through and now continue to live with the memory of what happened to their friends. It's really, I mean, go back to the crime scene, that house, and you think about it, you know, where they were in their lives and what was on their minds, and it was a weekend, and it was all so positive, everything that was happening in their lives. And then in an instant, it was all gone, taken for no reason, seemingly, other than the thrill of a kill, which makes you angry and sad all at once. Now, one thing that we know, according to investigators, if you believe their evidence, right, what they've alleged, is that the man that they've charged with this killing drove by that house, drove by the scene before anyone made a call to 911. Think about that for a second. This brutal, according to prosecutors, this brutal murder takes place. The killer does what he does inside, leaves, and then comes back in the morning, and everything is the same. There's no police cars, no ambulances, no crime scene tape, just the house. Until finally, that 911 call is made, and these kids, I call them kids, they're in college, had to describe the unthinkable in that call and had to make sense of what they were seeing and experiencing. It was nothing that they expected. No one would expect it. But it's just, you know, it's the morning. You wake up, oh, it was a big Saturday night. And then 4 people are dead. They're non-responsive. You have no idea what happened to my friend. And then you've got to call 911, and there's like this collective group of people who are there at that moment. And I think they're all trying to figure out what's going on. And in the midst of it, you can feel and hear the impact this is having on them. And my guess is this impact has continued for all. So I'm going to play for you the 911 call. I will warn you that it's extremely emotional and difficult, but it's the reality of what happened. It's evidence in the case, and it is important. It'll be important for the jury. It's an important part of telling the story of what happened to the Idaho 4. Let's listen.
911 location of your emergency.
Something is happening. Something happened in our house. We don't know what.
What is the address of the emergency?
1122.
What is the rest of the address?
Oh, Kings Road.
Okay. And is that a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
Can you repeat the address to make sure that I have it right?
I'll talk to you guys. We live at the White, so we're next to them.
I need someone to repeat the address for verification.
The address, 1122 King Road.
And what's the phone number that you're calling from?
What's your phone number?
And tell me exactly what's going on.
One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night, and she's not waking up.
Okay.
Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah.
And are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone, stop passing it around.
Can I just tell you what happened pretty much?
What is going on currently? Is someone passed out right now?
I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m.
Okay, I need to know what's going on right now if someone is passed out. Can you find that out?
Yeah, I'll come. Come on, but we gotta go check. But we have to. What's wrong? She's not waking up.
Okay, one moment. I'm getting help started that way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and how old is she?
She's 20.
20, you said?
Yes, 20. Here's one.
Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people.
Okay, sorry, they just gave me the phone.
Is she breathing?
Hello?
Is she breathing?
No.
Okay.
Do you have a defibrillator? Yes, you have one.
Are you talking to the officer?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to let you go since he's there with you and can help you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay.
It's real. That is what happened. I want to read for you because I think it's really important. The Gonzalez family, Kaylee's family, posted something on Facebook. It was a long post. It was I think a significant post. We've taken some pieces of this, and I think it tells the story. And this is from the perspective of the victim's family, describing the 911 call. It is raw. It is jagged. A searing, unvarnished truth that no camera could ever hope to capture. Every breath, every cry, every tremor in the voice reveals a reality so cruel, so brutally honest, it cuts deeper than anything fiction could devise. The terror of that night cannot be cleanly packaged, wrapped in a bow, or distilled into a simple, digestible narrative. It is ugly. It is painful. It is the kind of horror that shakes you to your deepest core. These were not adults. They were children, still clinging to the fragile threads of innocence when the world was violently torn from them in an instant. In closing, let us face the uncomfortable truth. Had the 911 call been made the moment the accused left that house, it would not have saved anyone. nothing would have changed. So we ask respectfully, please do not waste your energy pointing fingers at those who could not have prevented it. When I hear those words, what I hear is the family of Kaylee saying to the survivors, to Dylan, to Bethany, listen, it's okay. You know, you couldn't have changed anything. Don't carry that burden with you the rest of your life. You have enough that you have to carry with you, having survived this awful attack. I'm sure that's the message they're sending. I am sure of it. All right, let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Al Wunsch III. Also with us, criminal defense attorney Darnell Crossland and family law attorney Jennifer Brandt. Great to see everyone tonight. I think this gives us sort of a preview of the tone of what this trial, Al, is going to be like for everyone inside that courtroom, every witness who has to testify, and really for the community as they hear all of us together for the first time the details and the horrors of what happened inside that home.
Absolutely, but first, Erin Gobra, happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. It's very tragic listening to that 911 tape and listening to what was going on. And, you know, something, I know, Vinnie, you and I have discussed this numerous times. Parents have to tell their kids that, you know, when in doubt, dial it out, 911. If there was ever a situation where you just have any inkling that there's something wrong, don't be afraid to dial 911. We have to teach this to our kids. We have to let them know that this is what needs to be done under these circumstances. You know, I mean, bully to the parents that are, you know, saying, okay, nothing would have changed and everything else. And that is remarkable. That's just an excellent, you know, very, very fortunate way that they're looking at it for these poor survivors of this nightmare. But, you know, when this happened, make the call. If, as I said, when in doubt, dial it out, 911. That's what we need to take from our lesson from this horrendous circumstance, this horrendous case, this horrible situation. Let's use it as a valuable lesson to parents when their kids go away to school or when they're home or whatever. Don't be afraid to call 911, regardless of the situation, regardless if you're drunk, regardless if you're high. If your life is in danger or you think your life is in danger, when in doubt, dial it out, 911.
Darnell, the raw emotion in that call and the reaction, you can feel it. I've heard a lot of 911 calls through the years. Sometimes it's made by the killers themselves. I've seen that in spousal situations more than once. So you don't get much from those. But here you really capture the essence of the terror, the essence of the heartbreak, and I think the Gonzalez family put it best, is where, you know, that last thread of innocence that these kids had was just ripped from them.
Yeah, well, I would agree. Obviously, it was horrible, and it was emotional, but it was emotionally confusing to me. And from an investigatory standpoint, although the 911 operator was doing her job trying to stop the kids from passing the phone around and trying to assess, I think, whether someone was clinging for life and needed help, I think what happened is, to me, she cut off the story. It seemed like there was something trying to be revealed, as opposed to, you know, screaming, there's blood, he just stabbed her. The girl was saying that there was a man here. The girl was saying something happened at 4 a.m. The girl was saying, let me tell you the story. And the operator was saying, almost, I don't want to hear the story. Just tell me what's going on now. So it left me wanting to hear more about the story. So definitely it was emotional, but it appeared that there's more here. Like perhaps they not only were drinking, but they knew someone was in the house night. And something happened. So I didn't hear that rest of the part of the 911 story.
I believe Dylan I believe Dylan saw the killer and saw a killer with bushy eyebrows. That's the way she described it. I think what's important to that moment that you picked up on there, Darnell, is that if someone tries to attack her credibility about whether or not she did see someone that night, she is saying it in the 911 call, and there seemed to be no doubt in her voice in that moment that she had seen someone in the house and wanted to tell the operator about what she had seen. Jennifer Brandt, this is I think a preview of what a lot of the testimony may sound like, at least emotionally, for those who are peers, friends, roommates of the victims who are going to have to testify in this case.
Right. I mean, Vinny, we have to keep in mind, these are kids, these are college kids. And while none of us would really know how to handle a situation like that, you can certainly imagine that kids, in college, having fun, going out, partying, coming home late hours. It wasn't so unusual that, their roommates came in late. It may not have even been unusual that there was somebody in the house. So, as to calling 911 earlier or anything like that, they have no experience, and, none of us should have any experience with something like this. But what, you can hear when they found her and how upset they are. It's just, you do hear the emotion, and it is an emotional situation. I mean, the trial is going to be horrific if these kids have to get up there and testify and talk about what they saw, what they observed, how they found their friends, their roommates. It's just a horrible story all around. So we're starting to hear a little bit of, we've heard a lot from Kohberger, and we've heard a lot from his defense team and the technicalities about the trial. But now we're really hearing about the victims and the situation and what happened that night. So
absolutely. And the observations and where everyone was is important part of this story in proving this case. And these are going to be fact witnesses who have to talk about their friends, but also talk about what they saw, what they heard, when they saw it, where they were, all of that. They've got to relive that night. And I think there's one word to really describe the feeling. It was fear, Al. It was fear in thinking about what could have been happening there, because there's text messages back and forth. We know about all those communications in the moments after she sees the man with the bushy eyebrows, and then finally in the morning, the discovery of someone's body.
And that's what I'm trying to bring out with regards to there was fear. This wasn't just something where they saw someone in the house and then oh, well, it could have been anybody. There was abstract fear, absolute fear in these roommates, and they should have then called 911. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying they would have been able to save anyone. I'm not saying anything along those lines, but their lives were in danger themselves at that instance. They should have called 911. They may have gotten a head start on trying to catch this guy, catching him within the vicinity, and everything would have been moving quicker with regards to this investigation. I have to challenge a little bit with regards to what Darnell had said, because the 911 operator is not necessarily interested in the story. She's interested in knowing whether or not someone's still breathing, if someone's hurt, if they need to do any type of first aid or things along those lines. And that's the principal focus, is that she keeps asking, what's happening? Is the person breathing? Is the person alive? That's the function of the 911 operator, not to do the investigation of a detective and ask, so what did you see earlier in the night? That's not the point. The point is, let's get the help we need to this victim who's lying there and not breathing.
And I think the exception to that might be if there's someone on the loose, right? To get if at the moment someone did something, someone is fleeing from the scene, but that wasn't the case in the morning. If there was an initial call, then that information would be extremely significant because the killer would be in the vicinity of where everything was happening, whereas here it is hours later in the morning. Darnell, I'll give you the last word. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Al probably missed that part. I was saying she did her job. That was good, but I would just be interested in hearing more, and that's what I was saying. But not that she should have elicited more. That's all I was saying.
Right. I got it. And you know what? That's the way the jury's going to think, too. If they hear that in the beginning of the case, they're going to be like, okay, I want to hear more from that witness. Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about American student Sudiksha Konanki, who is missing in the Dominican Republic. The latest in that, some new video in that case, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates the shooting of Kentucky Judge Kevin Mullins by the sheriff. Is it all connected to a civil lawsuit involving an extortion for sex scheme in the courthouse? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan investigates tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Does Karen Reed a killer girlfriend?
She's guilty.
Or the scapegoat in an elaborate cover-up?
Karen Reed was framed. We know who did it.
The Karen Reed murder retrial. Live coverage coming soon on Court TV.
Here she is, Sudiksha Konanki, student from the University of Pittsburgh, grew up in Virginia, went on spring break down to Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic and was out on the beach early in the morning with a guy, I guess, that she met while on vacation. He's from a different part of the country, but also American. And he came back, she didn't. And now we're trying to figure out what happened to Sudiksha. Following all the latest developments in the case, Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas is here. So we've got some new video in this case. What do we have?
Absolutely, Vinny. We have new video obtained from the Dominican outlet CDN. And before we even watch the video, we have to clear the air here because there's been some reporting about the time span or the time slots where events were happening. The reporting has said that they were going to the beach at around 4:15 a.m.
Right, 4 a.m. in the morning.
In the morning,
Right.
in those early morning hours of March 6th. This is the 11th day of the investigation. But as we watch some of these surveillance videos, you'll see a timestamp on the videos that read around 5:06, 5:10, 5:15 in the morning. So between the reporting and the videos are about an hour off, but coherently, everything still kind of adds up. Everything's just an hour off. But as we watch this video, this new video that is moments before they started walking towards the beach. We look right here. If you look up towards the top right, you see the guy walking the button up and the guy hunched over. That is the person of interest, Joshua Rive. And if you see where the red circle is to the left, that is circled around Sudiksha. They're at a bar, a hotel bar, before walking to the beach. This, again, is the early morning hours of March 6th. But as this zooms in on Rive up there, you see him hunched over looking somewhat inebriated. We can't see exactly what he's doing, but it doesn't look like he's as coherent.
Yeah, and he's not
as
hanging
everyone
out
else.
at the bar. He's like outside, and he's
Exactly.
And Sudiksha also went over there and sort of bent over for a second. Looked like I don't know what she was. I mean, everyone could be a little bit sick.
Absolutely. Everyone's been drinking all day. You know, they're on spring break. Young kids having a good time. But she seems a little bit more coherent than he is because she's over there talking to those friends.
He's
and
struggling.
you see he's still sitting there hunched over. You see him stumbling a little bit. You'll see him stumble off to the left just a little bit right there. So definitely under the influence of something as he's leaning up against that pillar.
Yeah.
But of course, Vinny, this video is a little bit before the videos that we've already seen of the group walking towards the beach right here. The video we already had from the other Dominican outlet down there, Note to CSN. There's Joshua Rive, there's Sudiksha, and there's the friends as they're going out to the beach. That's the couple that they were also with. And of course, you know, we know the friends came back at a certain time, left Rive, left Sudiksha on the beach, and ultimately led to Sudiksha's disappearance.
The one thing about the picture of them when their arms are around each other, and he's got his right arm up in the air. It looks like he's taking a selfie.
Absolutely.
But I was seeing reports saying that he didn't have his phone with him either. Like, she didn't have her phone,
Right.
her friends had her phone, and he didn't have his. Like, so if neither one of them has their phones, that's...
Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense.
There's a discrepancy there.
And it's not great for the investigation either, because that's a great way to track someone or verify where they are.
Especially this day and age.
Yeah. So let's talk about the clothing on the beach. My understanding there's an update on that now, too.
Yes, now it's been reported that a few days after March 6th, her clothing was found in a lounge chair on the beach by Dominican authorities. She was wearing one of those cover-ups that girls wear over their bathing suits, and they found that along with her sandals on a lounge chair. But the key here is, Vinny, is that that clothing and those sandals and everything else they found did not look like it was tampered with, and it didn't show any signs of violence or any sort of forcible nature, according to the Dominican authorities, which means it looks as if it was just laid there, taken off by whoever was wearing it, probably before getting in the water.
And found on a lounge chair.
Found on a lounge chair.
His story was that he saved her life, and then she's walking off on an angle to find her things.
Mm-hmm.
But he also said she was in the water. Why would you be in the water looking for her things if now we know they're found on a lounge chair, which obviously isn't in the water?
Absolutely. We can take a look at a picture right here of the clothing found. You could see when they bring it up right here, there's on the left. That's the little blouse she was wearing. And on the right, you see that same article of clothing on her body that was caught.
And it's on a beach chair, like a lounge chair.
Right.
It's not. So if she left him right after he saves her life, and she's walking off, what is she looking for? That's, I believe, what she would be looking for. And it's nowhere, it's not in the water, it's on a chair. It's
Absolutely.
Not like she threw it on the beach, it's on a chair.
Absolutely, and that's, again, another discrepancy in
Wow.
his story, and that where he's allegedly the hero, saving her out of the water.
Okay, and what's the latest on Ribe?
So, of course, again, this is the 11th day of the investigation, but now Dominican authorities have seized his passport, meaning he can't leave. He's been held up at the hotel where he was staying throughout spring break. He's been there since the investigation started. He can't even leave this hotel without police. And of course, he's still not a suspect, still only a person of interest. He has not been charged with anything, which has now led, he's lawyered up, he's got an attorney. His attorney has filed a motion pretty much saying that you guys can't detain him for any longer if you haven't charged him with anything and if he's not labeled as an official suspect. And a hearing regarding that motion is actually scheduled tomorrow at 2 p.m.
So that's a big day, and we don't even know if it's a crime. I mean, it could have been an accidental drowning, a tragic drowning, and you can't be a suspect if there's not a crime. So I guess they're trying to figure that out first.
Absolutely.
All right, Cody Thomas, on top of it, thanks so much. Let's bring back in our think tank, Al Wunsch, Darnell Cross, and Jennifer Bryan still with us. All right, I have to start with Darnell because he usually broadcasts with us from the Dominican Republic. So what are your...
Why isn't he there now?
Yeah, exactly, when we need him there. So, Darnell, what are your thoughts here about the seized passport? He hasn't been named as a suspect. They haven't found her yet. Is this kid, you think, going to come back to the United States? Will they let him come back?
Well, it's very interesting. They have a very different system in many ways. They have the Napoleonic Code versus our system, which is based on common law and different statutory makeups. I spent the summer there at the Palacio de Justicia, which is the Palace of Justice in the capital. And what I learned that they have the situation where you could even get in a car accident, which is a civil matter. And if someone's hurt, they can take your passport and hold you there until that matter resolves. It's not like you just go post a bond. Some people have been placed in jails, which I visited many of the jails, and you have to bring your own food, your own clothes, etc. Sometimes they lock you in a hotel. And those are those cases where you can stay in a hotel if they're just on the investigation and you're not charged, like in this case. So from my experience, it's going to be a very, very long road. They can and they do have the authority to hold them there pending investigations, but not in a jail, but in a hotel. You know, I've seen cases where a plane had drugs on it and they were suspecting that some people on the plane were smuggling it. And they put the whole entire crew, and not just the passengers, but the crew, in a hotel and had them there like 8 months while they're investigating this. So they have a long road ahead of them.
Wow. Okay. Jennifer Bryan, the story, and it may very well be true, or it could be his recollection of what happened, but he was very specific in the story that's been reported that they kiss and then a big wave comes, they're struggling, they're calling for help. He's a pool lifeguard and he's able to bring her in and make sure that her head was above the water as he brought her to shore. And he swallows a lot of salt water. They get to shore, she's in front of him. He lets go, he starts to feel sick from the salt water, sees her walking in knee-high water on an angle, and she was going to get some of her, trying to find her things. Well, now we know her things are on the lounge chair. Does all of this make sense to you?
You know, Vinny, after watching these videos and seeing them at the bar and appearing to be somewhat inebriated in those hours and then going off to the beach, it's difficult to believe that he can have such recollection of what went on. I mean, I'm sure now, thinking back, this is what he believes he remembers, but they do look like they were somewhat impaired, all of them. And, you know, do you ever really remember what happens in a situation like that? Not only if they did get in the water and it was a scary situation very early in the morning, but after drinking and you know, having fun with your friends and maybe having a few too many, it would be difficult to remember. So I don't know how much we can rely on his recollection, how accurate it is. But I do think now that he has a lawyer, in terms of what Darnell was saying about being detained, you know, I think the lawyer will intervene and try to get him released as much as possible, as quickly as possible. I mean, he's got a family at home too that is, you know, hoping that he returns to the U.S. So it's a tragic situation all around.
It really is. And Al, the other part of this story that is just tough for me to understand, if her life was just saved by this young man, she immediately wanders away and goes back into the water that she just almost drowned in?
That makes no sense whatsoever. And you know, I even though he may have been inebriated, I mean, you know, as a former lifeguard myself, you do remember if you save somebody. And the fact that he was able to pull her in, according to him, he's swallowed a lot of water, stuff like that. Her going back in the water makes no sense whatsoever. Absolutely no sense. In fact, that's probably the last place you would be going back into is the water. And if the tide and the current is as bad as it is, that wave knocked them over, even at knee length, you know, knee deep in the water, it's dangerous, and she could fall down and go back in and
that
drown.
could be what happened. That could be what happened, you know. We shall see. All right, stay where you are, everyone. We've got more to get to. A story out of Connecticut involving a man who was held captive by his stepmother till age 32. Then he sets fire to the house so someone will come and rescue him.
Oh my God.
911 with Daddy. What's the address?
Please hurry. There's a fire.
Okay.
Oh my God, there's a fire. I'm trying to.
Ma'am, what's on fire?
The TV, I don't know. My son, stepson is in his room, and I don't know. He did something with the TV. I was sleeping. I fell asleep.
See flames or smoke?
Yes, come on, Steph, come on.
Okay, can you get...
Yes, we need an ambulance, please.
Okay.
Please, we need an ambulance.
Ma'am, all right, you said something is on fire and now you need an ambulance. What's going on there?
Yes, his room. The TV in his room.
Did he get injured? Is he on fire?
Yes, he's injured. Please send the ambulance.
Ma'am, I'm going to send the ambulance. I need to know what's going on and why they're going out there. Where is he injured?
I don't know. He's I don't know. I don't know. He's kind of passed out. He's out of it. Please.
That's Kimberly Sullivan calling. There's a fire at the house. But apparently the fire is set by her 32-year-old stepson. Why? Because he's been held captive for like 2 decades. Take a look at the video from the responding officers.
Come over here. Go down the road. Come on, come down, come down.
Come on, down.
Who else is in the house? Who else is in here?
My stepson is in here.
How many other people?
Listen, that's it. I have 2 cats.
Everybody's out?
Yes.
But your stepson's still inside?
Yeah, he's right here.
Okay,
yes.
come out. Come down the road. Come on, come on. It's not safe to stay here. Come on. It's not safe to stay here.
All right, my dog is
shaking. I know. Come down here. That's 287.33 victim. Fire victim.
Okay.
Come on.
My dog is,
right here. Come on.
My dog.
I know. Come on.
I'm coming.
You're seeing it. Got one victim right here. I need to stay over here.
So you may have seen the blurred image of emergency responders carrying someone. Let me tell you who that is. This is from Kimberly Sullivan's arrest warrant affidavit. That's male victim number 1. Extremely emaciated. His hair was matted and unkempt. He was very dirty. His teeth all appear to be rotten. Male victim 1 reported that he intentionally started the fire in his room because he wanted his freedom. He stated he had been locked in that house his entire life. Male victim 1 stated he'd been held captive at the residence since he was approximately 11 years old. He specifically mentioned that his stepmother, Kimberly Sullivan, keeps him locked inside his bedroom as there is a lock, excuse me, on the outside of that door. What is going on? Let's bring in our think tank, still with us, Al Wunsch III, Darnell Crossland, Jennifer Brandt. Jennifer, now, apparently his father also lived in that house up until 2024, but he passed away in 2024, and they've got this 32-year-old, 68 pounds, locked up. This is a tough one. It's inexplicable.
It is, Vinny, and it's inexplicable how somebody can just go completely off the grid, that nobody was checking up on him. You know, when he was younger, there had been the Child Protective Services had come to the house a couple of times to look and see if everything was okay, and sort of, you know, there was nothing founded. They kind of let it go, and then the records were destroyed, they said, and no one followed up on this guy. He was living with his father and his stepmother, but no one else in the world was looking for him, including his own mother, who I believe has come forward and said that she, you know, had to relinquish custody when he was a baby, and had been looking for him. But I don't understand. 32 years go by and no one is searching for this person. And she and her husband are able to keep him locked up. You hear about these stories, you just wonder how no one could have found out before then. And he's smart. Good for him that he thought of starting the fire, because otherwise he probably still would have been there.
Yeah, or ended up like the Shonda Vander Ark case. Al, there was, it's, I don't understand it. He's in an 8x9 room. He has no facilities to use. I mean, it is just, it's not human. She wouldn't let that dog live that way.
No. And she got the dog out first. So this is just horrendous, absolutely horrendous. I mean, to have, in this day and age, somebody who got lost in the system that has been for 20 years a prisoner, okay, in a cell that is a room, barely given food. I mean, to be that weight at that age is just, it's so troubling and so disgusting. And the fact that they let this woman out on bail is even more troubling to me. Bail should have been revoked, because this is cruel and unusual to do this to somebody. I mean, he looked like you see from the concentration camps, those emaciated, horrendously, you know, deprived human beings who have basically nothing left. And, you know, to put somebody through that, especially a stepson, especially when the father was alive, knowing that this was happening to his son, is just disgusting. And the mother saying she couldn't find him, the birth mother saying she couldn't find him. Well, keep looking. I mean, you know, this 20 years, this should not happen.
Darnell, you're in Connecticut. What's going to happen here?
Well, it's a lot of things that we have to unpeel, and it's horrendous. This case is, you know, in Connecticut, they have names for these towns. You know, New Britain, hard hit New Britain, Gunwave in New Haven, they call Waterbury dirty water. When I see this case, I listen to this lady speak. We have this thing called 5456D, which is lawyers ask for that, which is a mental health evaluation. She definitely needs a 5456D. When you hear the way she's talking to the emergency responders, it sounds like she's just a nut. And what Al was saying in terms of locking her down, strangely, the law is, so far, it seems like this was false imprisonment, which would grant her bail. She'd be entitled to bail. They have to see if there's something more. in DCF world, there's two types of findings: neglect or physical abuse here in Connecticut. And they also have substantiation or unsubstantiated. So if the DCF were to substantiate abuse or neglect, then this child could have been removed. And we have a lot of resources here. DCF gives the kids, they pay for college, they give them stipends. If the family couldn't afford to take care of this kid, they should let this kid go. There's other resources. But it appears that, like Al was indicating, she had some mental problems and she wanted to torture this kid. And the father stood by and let that happen. That's a shame.
Yeah, and Jennifer, I mean, he's been an adult for like 14 years already, and it just continued. There was, a teacher that reported this, but nothing happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
ago.
a failure of the system. Yeah, and you hear about this. You hear about these cases. We don't know how he was treated years ago, but apparently it got worse and worse. And, we're putting all the blame on the stepmother, but you got to look at the father. I mean, he's deceased now, but how he could let this go on with his own son. I mean, you got to wonder, if that's where it all started, because obviously he was in charge of this child, not her.
I think it is, but he died in 2024. She did nothing to stop it. Al Wunsch III, Darnell Crossland, Jennifer Brandt, great to have you on as always. Thank you so much. When we come back, I will reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, why did Sheriff Mickey Steins shoot and kill Judge Kevin Mullins in the middle of the day in front of surveillance cameras? Was it a mental breakdown fueled by sleep deprivation? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV.
Doomsday Cult mom is now lawyer Lori.
She's representing herself.
On charges of conspiring to murder her fourth husband.
She said, I can murder you now.
The Cult Mom Conspiracy Trial. Live coverage coming soon, only on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look. The records temporarily sealed in the Gene Hackman death investigation. A New Mexico court has granted a temporary restraining order. What will be sealed are any and all photographs or videos containing the body of Gene Hackman, the body of his wife Betsy, the interior of their home, and any lapel video or body cam video that includes Mr. or Mrs. Hackman's bodies or their deceased animals. The autopsy reports as well will be sealed. Again, both deaths tragically ruled as natural causes, and our thoughts are with the family as they continue to grieve. I want you to take a look at your screens. We have a missing child who needs your help tonight. This is Malachi Javon Mata. Malachi is missing since March 12th out of Phoenix, Arizona. If you see Malachi, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. You can call 911, you can call 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Phoenix Police Department out in Arizona. That phone number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Malachi to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.